How many times have you left early, cancelled a meeting, or otherwise changed your plan? How many times have you said you were going, but stayed right where you were, sinking in the sand? How many times did you look at yourself from another perspective and grasp, when all was said and done, you were simply in the wrong place? Listen, we're the same size as what we see and not what we have. A man needs to see things with his own eyes, walk the world with his own feet, have his back burned by the sun and his feet blistered by the street. Which is harsher, the icy winds atop a mountain or the baking heat along the plain? There's only one way to know. Seeing this with our own eyes and not on our smartphones, flashing up images of landscapes already shared a million times, really seeing with our own gazes for just a few and sometimes far too few times. The good news is they are still here. These landscapes do persist in the three-dimensional world that we exist, and they do hold the capacity to transform us. So come, take a look, but look to see and not to show, and save it right here and here. Put the phone away and go. Once we experience distance, we understand just how much we miss our own and our homes. We can see the wood from the trees. Travel helps us flourish and grow. We need to go places we don't know to shatter that arrogance that makes us experts in what we have not seen, when we should remain humble and keen as students and just head off in discovery. In 20, 30, 40 years' time, we're going to regret what we did not do. So voyage out, let the wind blow through your sails, explore, dream and discover. Believe that that sky is going to seem that bit bluer. You must have read, when something good happens, travel to celebrate. When something bad happens, travel to forget. And when nothing happens, travel to make something happen. Keep this in your head. It's the truth. And this is the proof. And it's with us each and every day. We just have to read the signs. Because after all, we can't skip life.
A warm welcome to our audience. My name is Linda Erasmus. I'm the International Brand Ambassador for Fine & Country, and I will be your host today. Portugal was named Europe's leading destination in the 2019 World Travel Awards. For those of you who don't know, Portugal is home to 15 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Portugal is very much the flavor of the moment when it comes especially to property investment. Allow me to welcome our three panelists who will shortly share some valuable information with our audience here today. So first up is Charles Roberts. Charles, originally from Britain, lived in Portugal for the last 35 years. Charles is a director and a partner in Fine & Country Portugal. Please welcome Charles with us on the show today.
Thank you, Linda.
Second up is Nuno, Durão, truly original and an experienced man at home in Portugal. Nuno is also a partner in Fine & Country Portugal. Nuno, welcome on the show today.
Thanks, Linda.
And our third panelist is from a law firm in Portugal, Martinez, Echevarria. We will talk a little bit and reveal a little bit more about the firm and Ricardo himself, but please welcome Ricardo Louro.
Hello, Linda. Hello, everyone.
I can actually feel that our audience is very excited and looking forward to hear from you and why Portugal has become so popular. But to our audience, it is so difficult sometimes if you want to do something and to find the right people to assist you and to be 100% confident that you are dealing with people who put your interest first. So today, I really introduce you to Charles and Nuno, who have got my personal stamp on. And my stamp says highly recommended. I've been working with the two of them for over 10 years, I think. And I can only say that each and every client, especially from South Africa, have always been very, very happy with the service they received from your office. Now, these sessions are quite comprehensive in terms of general information. However, from experience, we know that once we stretch your mind, you will have more questions to ask. So at the end of the session, we will put the details of all the panelists on the screen where you can write it down if you're fast enough. Or by tomorrow, you will receive an email from our office in Portugal directly to you. And then you can interact, and they will also provide you with the contact details of the law firm. So today's discussion are threefold. First of all, our panelists will ask, we will ask the question to them, and they will talk to you about why Portugal has become so popular on the international map for investors. And then secondly, it's important for us as foreign country to introduce you to a trusted source and ensure that our clients are looked after. And then thirdly, we are privileged to have somebody from an established law firm and somebody like Ricardo with us on the show today to answer those personal questions even after the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let's move on to the interview. Nuno, I'm going to ask you to just pull up a map and share some of the geography of Portugal so that we can just familiarize ourselves with that. And maybe you can highlight a few hotspots and villages for us. Over to you.
Thanks a lot, Linda, and welcome everybody. And for sure, one of the things that we should address first is where the hell is Portugal, because everybody knows it. But in fact, it's the reason why we were in the map and we traveled around and navigated since 15th century. So Portugal is in fact in Europe, is the western coast of Europe. And we are the most western part of Europe continent. So as you can see up there, a small country in a light yellow. Yeah, thanks, studio. And so Portugal is in fact, the geography of Portugal is equidistant from all other continents. If you think about Europe, more or less in the center, from America, from South America, Africa, we all go to Portugal. And then from Portugal, we are very near Europe. So as you know, the land is not planned. So let's go through a globe, which I can enlighten and show a little bit about where in Portugal and where Portugal is. So you can see there, so Africa below us, Europe. So in the Iberian Peninsula, our neighbor is Spain, which is more onto the Mediterranean. And then Portugal is the western coast. Okay, so it's a country, 10 million population, not that big. And from north to south, I would say it's like 700 or 800 kilometers. One of the most known areas is the summer destination, which is Algarve, which is right in the south, 3 hours driving from Lisbon. So Lisbon capital is in the middle of Portugal. So 3 hours up, you are in the north, 3 hours down, you go to the south to the Algarve. Now I'll just show you where is the future touristic destination. It's just 1 hour, 1 hour and a half from Lisbon, with more than 100 kilometers of beach, and it's Comporta, very new, chic and touristic destination. Everything will happen there. So it's important for you to remember that part. Then, of course, the capital, Lisbon. Lisbon is by the river, a big Tagus River. So it's a city with 1 million population, but in the big Lisbon, what is around is 4 million. And then from Lisbon, if you go west to the coast, you have the beach area, very, very known. So you have the mountains up, the mountains of Sintra, and then below is Cascais. So Cascais is a mix, is pure residential. For every CEO in Portugal likes to live in Cascais area, just 20 minutes away from Lisbon. And in fact, it's our headquarters. So we have offices in all the places I'm talking about. So, and then the second city of Portugal, very known by the wine industry, etc. Usually in the north, they work more. We in the south, we are always in holidays and enjoying weather. So in the north, Porto is the second city of Portugal, quite a fantastic point. So it has international airport, and it's the where port wine started. So it's very known for wine. So this way you had a good idea about where Portugal is, why Portugal is the entrance of Europe. So it's the way out and the entrance. It's everybody wants to go through Portugal, and it's a good idea. Okay, so geographically, that's Portugal. And back to you, Linda. Thanks.
Thank you, Nuno. So, Charles, I'm going to address this to you. Communication is such an important aspect of our lives. But, you know, for those who traveled a lot, it's quite difficult if you find yourself in a country and you cannot really communicate properly. So the question that I really want to pose to you is, when people from all over the world, when they land up in Portugal, how easy or difficult is it to communicate in terms of restaurants, hospitals, and the general amenities and getting around?
Hi, everybody. Just to let you know that through the wonders of modern communication, it seems as though I'm speaking to you from the banks of the Douro River outside Porto. I'm not, actually. I'm in my office in Estoril. And Nuno appears to be speaking to you from the Bay of Cascais. He's not. He's in the next door room to me here in Estoril. But funnily enough, Linda, on that subject, 3 days ago came out a report that Portugal has the 7th best non-native English speakers, which I can evidence to be totally true. The standard and level of spoken English in this country right throughout the social scale is absolutely fantastic. Yeah? And you will find that people under 55 years old are very, very proficient in English. People over 55 years old are probably better in French, because that was the second language that was taught at that time. But if you're going to a restaurant, getting into a taxi, an Uber, speaking to your lawyer, your banker, you don't need to worry about language skills. You may wish, obviously, to learn Portuguese, but the fact that you don't speak it will not be an impediment to you. I can give you another example that our banking system here, everybody now has internet banking. On screen you can see something from actually a Spanish bank, BBVA. All of their online banking on this bank and all of the other major banks in this country give you the option of Spanish, Portuguese, English, and some offer French as well. So you can manage your financial affairs sitting in Johannesburg, Berlin, or Milan in any of those languages. You mentioned communications. Well, I can tell you when I first came to Portugal to stay in Portugal in 1985, to apply for a fixed telephone line had a 5-year waiting list. It's now instant. So things have really changed. We have some of the best broadband, super fast broadband. We also, when I think of communications, it's not just verbal, it's how you can get from A to B. And we are, from our major airports, fly all over the world. TAP is the national airline, but you can fly to Dubai and Sydney direct with Emirates, British Airways to the UK, Turkish Airlines pretty much all over the world. We fly to all continents, including as far as China, Australia, South Africa, etc. And in addition, when we joined the European Union in 1986, the funding that was accessible to Portugal was mostly very well spent on developing one of the best motorway systems in all of continental Europe. Also, communication, I think, can cover schools. We have a plethora here of international schools, which you have, for example, on this slide, St. Julian's School in the center, where actually my daughter was educated. Private, what is illustrated here are all private schools which do either the British curriculum, the American curriculum, Swedish or German curriculum. They do IB or they do A levels. So you have an American school, French school, a German school, a Swedish school, and many, many others. And those are all within striking distance of Lisbon or Cascais and Estoril. We also, very luckily, have an absolutely brand new university that has opened less than a year ago, which you can see here, the Universidade Nova, which is a business and economics university teaching solely in English. To the left of the picture, you're actually looking at the old presidential summer residence of the President of Portugal. This school, or this university, has about 6,000 undergraduates and postgraduate students. As you can see, it's right on top of the beach. It's equidistant from Cascais and Lisbon. I don't know how much studying is going to go on there as opposed to beach bars and surfing, but we shall see. But it's a great new addition, and the majority of the students are coming from all over the world. And in the other established universities, many of the technical courses are already taught in the English language rather than in Portuguese. And that makes sense in terms of engineering, etc., etc. So we have all of that. Also, I think in communication, it's not directly relevant, but I would just like to cover it. People are very concerned when they're coming here from all over the world, how will their healthcare be? Because a lot of them are approaching an age where they think that healthcare will be important to them. And if you subscribe to any one of the well-known international healthcare providers such as Bupa, PPP, etc., they all function exactly the same as if in your home country. And also you have private medical insurance available here in Portugal through companies such as Medis, Multicare, etc., who are the equivalent of Bupa. They are just as good. On top of that, our national health service is absolutely excellent. I can give you an example that here in Cascais, there is a brand new public hospital that is absolutely state of the art. So I would say that we have great communications internally, externally, and it should not be a barrier to anybody thinking of investing in this country. Back to you, Linda.
Thank you, Charles. And now let us find out why it will be the best to also deal with a trusted law firm when you are going to invest in the property market in Portugal. So I promised, my battery is going low. Sorry, I apologize for that. There's something on my screen here that I couldn't see the audience, but I'm back. Technical problem solved. Thank you. Ricardo, I promise that I will just give the audience a background about the company, but I'm also going to start with Ricardo himself. Ricardo obtained his law degree at the University of Lisbon in 2001. He also has a master's degree in tax optimization and completed a postgraduate course in commercial property law. He's a partner at Martinez, Echevarria, an international law firm established in 1983. And currently, he is practicing as a senior lawyer and he specializes in real estate, tax, and company law. His expertise, ladies and gentlemen, is grounded in advising international clients, our audience, regarding investment routes and immigration on relocation to Portugal. So either as an individual or as a company, Ricardo is the best lawyer in town to give you advice. Now, Ricardo is currently responsible for over 800 ongoing golden visa processes. And to top it all, coming back to the language, Ricardo is fluent in English, Spanish, and French. So we are very, very pleased to introduce you to the law firm Martinez, Echevarria, and especially Ricardo. Ricardo, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you very much, Linda. It's a pleasure to be here. And I also know how to speak Portuguese.
Of course, of course. So, Ricardo, I'm going to start with posing just a general question. Does a potential buyer have to register with a government agency before they buy in Portugal? And if we take COVID-19 into consideration, can we do that online?
Well, there is no need. There is no need for any government registration per se for any buyer from any nationality. What an international client needs to do is to obtain a Portuguese tax number, and he can do that at a distance. So that can be done through us, for example, at a distance without ever being in Portugal. Everything online.
And can anybody just buy in Portugal and transfer money to a bank account in Portugal? Or is there a difference between EU citizens and people from the rest of the world?
There is no difference regarding nationality in terms of property purchase opening of bank accounts and money transfer. There is, of course, compliance. There is the need to know the origin of the money and the source of it. And there is the need to identify and to obtain the Portuguese tax number, as I said. There is no taxation over international transfers or over wealth. So anyone can open a bank account in Portugal and transfer money free of taxes.
Wonderful. So just a quick reference to acquire financing from a bank. What is the general rule for people that want to finance maybe just a part of their purchase in Portugal?
Usually I think it's conservative and for sure to say that at least 50% of the valuation of the property, and usually these days the valuation of the properties done by the banks are in line with the market prices. So usually the banks for non-residents, non-tax residents, they finance 50% of the purchase.
So, people, and especially buyers, we're always worried about extra cost. So are there any other permits, taxes, attorney fees, or surveying fees that may become due? And maybe it's good to give the audience an example.
Very well, very well. All the costs in property transactions in Portugal are clear. There are no hidden costs. Everything is put up front. Let's give an example. If you're buying a property of 600,000 euros, a residential property, you will pay 6% of transmission tax, 0.8 of stamp duty, then small fee of registry and relatively small fee of notary, and of course a very good investment in a lawyer that you need to undergo. I would say that in total, the taxes may differ a bit if it is a commercial property or if it is a residential property above 1 million. But I would say that in total, they won't go more than, all costs together, more than 9% in general.
Yeah, that gives one a general guideline to work from. Thank you. So the other thing is obviously, it's wonderful when we buy, but then purchasers are well informed today, and they also want to know what will happen one day when I sell the property, and about capital gains tax and how they can take the money back and out of the country again.
Okay. First of all, we'll start by the last part of your question. Portugal and the bank system do not withhold any amounts from the client or for anyone in general. So there is no danger of the government forbidding a transfer. However, taxes are due in that case. If there is a capital gain, and even if you are not a tax resident in Portugal, you must pay the tax, which is 28%, which is the rate over the capital gain for a non-tax resident. Usually, this is paid when you sell. You make the payment to the government, and you withdraw the rest of the profit and the investment, if you wish so, to any of your other accounts.
Then lastly, on the financial and legal simplicity or complexity, we know that after all, we cannot hide from the tax man. So let us just look at income that people earn inside Portugal and outside the rest of the world, and how does that affect the purchase and the assets in Portugal?
Okay, I think let's speak only to non-tax residents, because I understand that our audience for sure are non-tax residents. They want to invest in Portugal. So their worldwide income will not be subject to any taxation in Portugal, unless they decide that they want to declare to be tax residents here, which I don't think is the case. So they don't need to have that concern. There is no worldwide taxation for non-tax residents. There is, of course, a taxation over the income that the investors obtain in Portugal. So if it is over the rental, you also have a 28% tax over rental income. If it is the capital gain, we already discussed that there is also 28% tax on that profit. And I might say that yearly, there is a very small amount, which is 0.3%, usually in Lisbon and Cascais, around 0.3%. It can go as high as 0.5, but in Cascais and Lisbon is around 0.3% of municipality tax, which is used to contribute for the sewage and the maintenance of the area surrounding of the city. It is a tax that goes for City Hall. So these are the taxes that the investors need to be aware of. They don't need, if they work in Portugal, of course, we also have, then we have to discuss about that, but they don't need to worry at all or to be concerned. Portugal will not taxate their worldwide income because they are not tax residents here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ricardo. So, ladies and gentlemen, during more normal times, we would probably go to the foyer for a cup of coffee, but I hope you've got something at home to drink. So let's go to the Portuguese studio and let's take the time to watch a video.
The crisis in Portugal. Portugal? Crisis. Taxes. Deficit. Troika. How do you identify this country? A, as a country in crisis. B, as a place to grow. C, as a country for sale. Welcome to Portugal, a country with solid, innovative projects which attract attention and investors from all around the world. We have a lot of examples to prove it. Our prepaid mobile phones, our ATM system, the Riviera solution, or the contact center software. We are the European leader in the manufacture of monofilaments and in the production of office paper. Michael Phelps beat world records with Portuguese swimsuits. In the production and transformation of cork, and in wind farms and renewable energy, we are world leaders. The quality of the Portuguese hotel industry makes travelers around the world happy. We are the biggest air service provider between Europe and Brazil. Portugal is in the front line in productivity in the automotive sector, and Brazil trusts us with their investments. The trendiest and sexiest toilet paper in the world is Portuguese. Millions of families buy it made in Portugal shopping centers. We provide solutions for NASA. We compete in the global GPS market, and we are distinguished in interaction technology. We stand out internationally in the production of clothing, footwear, and packaging in hard plastic. Our construction companies have achieved international ground, and we have companies with a lot of speed. Portugal is a doorway to Angola and Mozambique, a market that is growing at 8% with 40 million consumers, where we rely on one of the most dynamic oil companies for the development and production of oil and gas. We have the world's 11th largest maritime area, 4 international airports, one of the world's most modern and developed road networks. Portugal has increased its competitiveness and competence, which allows for a better relationship between qualified manpower and cost. We're in 30th place out of 182 on the world list for the best countries to do business with. Economic relations between Portugal and Spain constitute a strong and growing Iberian market. Together, we're a major pair set out to conquer the world. Many countries already trust us. However, the new emerging market also sees Portugal as a doorway into Europe and the future. Foreign direct investment has increased and currently exports represent 36% of the Portuguese GDP, which certifies the competitiveness and quality of the products made in Portugal. Portugal is one of the most global and peaceful nations in the world. Portugal is also the best place to work. From research to culture, the examples speak for themselves. Portugal to invest, to work, but also, without a doubt, the best place to live. The World Travel Awards distinguish Portugal as the best European golf and beach destination. And we made waves in the surf world too. Fado was regarded as intangible world heritage by UNESCO. Portugal is unique because of its famous port wine and great olive oil and the best codfish in the world, fantastic coffee, and the delicious pastéis de Belém. 273 million people on all continents speak Portuguese. This is why we believe that Portugal is the place to invest, to work, to live. How do you identify this country? A, as a country in crisis. B, as a place to grow. C, as a country for sale. Portugal, the place to grow.
So I think Linda's gone. Okay, while we wait for Linda, I think I can keep going, isn't it? Oh, she's coming back. Okay, you're back. There you
Good.
are.
We just had a technical problem here for a moment, but we're back online.
Great.
Now, let us move on to Portugal's position on the international market and find out why so many people are moving to Portugal or their funds to Portugal. So one of the aspects of a good lifestyle, according to the wealthiest people in the world, is privacy and safety. The best way to describe why Portugal attracted the wealthiest families in the world can be described by answering two questions. Nuno, I'm going to address this one to you.
Thanks.
Why did Madonna buy in Portugal through Fine and Country? And secondly, why did she leave?
Okay, now you're talking. So yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. She didn't buy, and she didn't buy through Fine and Country, and she didn't buy. But I will address that.
Yes.
Because in fact, the question is what happened. I can tell you a story that, in fact, when something really strong happens, it's not because of one reason. Yeah. So in Portugal, there are big events that changes the perception and changes a lot in Portugal as a small country. Like in World War II, Portugal did enter the war. So as we were a peaceful area, all kings and queens came to Estoril. So Estoril was very known during the World War II as the place where the spies were, etc. Even Ian Fleming inspired in a spy that was here just beside our office in Hotel Palacio, a Russian spy, double spy, that was Popov. So James Bond was inspired in Estoril, and even they filmed Casino Royale original here. So this was World War II. If you now think what is the most known touristic area is Algarve, between mostly British. And the reason is during the 60s, Cliff Richard bought a house in Algarve. So these things changes a lot. Right now, what happened? So, and what is the impact? Not only Madonna, but Madonna, Monica Bellucci, Fassbender, or Louboutin, or Philip Stark, they all come to Portugal. Something must happen for suddenly from 2013 on, a lot of these people came. So one of the things that changed in 2013 in Portugal was the golden visa. Here, you can have an idea how, what was the nationalities. Of course, China used a lot the golden visa to have a plan B of life out of China, and everybody knows the reasons. So, but I don't know, Turkey, South Africa, Russia, Brazil, between, I don't know, Bangladesh, a lot of people that wanted to have a plan B, they used the golden visa to come to Lisbon, to Portugal. That attracted a lot of people. But in fact, the most rich people around the world were more inspired on tax. So we have, and Ricardo is an expert about this part, which is the non-habitual tax residence, where people can come and be a tax payer in Portugal, and they have a flat rate, for instance, of 20% tax regime. So it depends on everyone. You can combine tax benefits and the golden visa. So there's a lot of questions that everybody can do directly to Ricardo, because he will answer way better. And we cannot have a general idea because it depends on tax between Portugal and other countries. But yes, golden visa and tax was, I would say, motives. Of course, we have the weather. Of course, we have nice beach. Of course, we have a lot of, this is an image of Cascais, for instance, 20 minutes from Lisbon. So a lot of reasons brought Madonna. Lisbon is really nice. You heard about Fado. Madonna came to Portugal for many reasons. Her son is playing football in Benfica. Lisbon is really nice for Fado and things like that. And then we also have this new touristic area that I talked about, which is this Comporta area. This is 1.5 hours driving from Lisbon, where you have the rice fields, 100 kilometers of absolutely nature of the beach. So, and then Porto, it's beautiful. So you should try and fill those things. We are 3 hours away from everything. So if you ask me why Madonna came, I would say everybody likes sometime to be away from spotlights, away from big parties, away from all that noise that you have around if you are a big star. And Madonna loved to be in Portugal. Problem is that, in fact, this being an argument for somebody that likes the spotlights and likes the parties, she wrote that she felt a little bit alone. Yeah, of course, that's normal. That's what happens. I don't know if I'm out. Now I'm back. Okay. So these things are, for the question, everybody talked about, oh, Madonna went to Portugal. Yes, she did. Oh, now she left. Why? It's same reason. So it's always, there are a lot of reasons in it. She will come back a lot of times. She really likes Lisbon. And I believe that's the main reason. It's safety. I can tell you that there was a moment, I met a guy in a hotel that found one day a superstar that was just at the pool, covered her head. And he went there and said, sorry, are you ill? Do you need help? And she said, no, I'm a very known actress, was Susan Sarandon. And she said, I don't want nobody to notice I'm in Portugal. Oh. And he said, oh, come on, nobody will take care of it. You can go. So 2 days later, she was cycling in Cascais and nobody knew she was here. So that's how Portugal attracts people. But of course, there are always behind it work for Ricardo around tax, golden visa, and property and investment. Back to you, Linda.
Thank you, Nuno. So Charles, just to summarize, please give us 2 aspects that comes to your mind immediately when we pose the question, why Portugal?
Okay, Linda, do my best. Firstly, I believe it's a very, very cosmopolitan country. We have people living or visiting here from all over the world. In the areas that we represent as a company, which, as Nuno explained, is Greater Lisbon, Cascais, Estoril, Porto, Comporta, you will not find a dominance of one particular foreign nationality being totally prevalent. It's a big mixture of people. Yeah? We also don't have any significant religious minorities here. Portugal welcomes foreigners, and there's none of that arrogance that some other European countries tend to have towards foreigners. Yeah? We also, and I can evidence this by my daughter having grown up here from 0 through to 22, there's no evidence here of prejudice by race, creed, or color. As I said before, Portugal's a very cosmopolitan society. It had an extremely large empire, which basically spanned half of the globe, yeah? As big as, if not bigger than, the British Empire, and had colonies in Africa, in India, in South America. And the Portuguese have emigrated all over the world, initially probably for financial reasons, but everybody, I would say, who is attending this webinar will probably know somebody Portuguese. The biggest Portuguese community outside Portugal is in Paris. They have 60 radio stations in Portuguese. As Linda, as you will know, Johannesburg has a huge Portuguese community. And obviously there are very large Portuguese communities in the likes of Brazil, etc. Also, this is slightly different from being cosmopolitan, but I think it's an important thing to cover. We have a very low crime rate in this country. I'm sure if you went to a bad part of Lisbon at 4 o'clock in the morning, you could easily find somebody who wished to take your wallet. But in general, we have a very, very low crime rate. The other thing to me that is my second point is basically the weather. And I say that because, okay, we have 270 days of sunshine each year, but what makes a difference to your mental health even, I would say, is if you get up in the morning, you open the curtains, you open the door, and the sun is shining, you start the day with a totally different mindset to getting up in a country where it's still pitch black at 6:30 in the morning, and it's pitch black at 5:30 in the afternoon. And I give you a very quick example, Linda, of how that was best illustrated to me. A good friend of mine lived in Portugal with his family for 15 years, and he was Danish, and he wanted to return home to Denmark. He had 3 beautiful daughters, and they decided that they wanted their daughters to feel Danish. So he moved from Portugal back to Denmark, to Copenhagen. And we're still in touch to this day, and our daughters are friends. And I asked him once, I said, Bo, what is it that you miss, if anything, most about Portugal? He said, Charles, the light. And that really came home to me, that, okay, we don't necessarily have the same light as Cap Ferrat, but we probably have the second best light in Europe. And that's really important. I think that's an emotional statement, that the light is really an integral part of your mood, and Portugal has great light and sunshine. Thank you.
That is such a beautiful thought. Thank you, Charles. Nuno, and which 2 benefits are highlights in your mind when we ask that question, why Portugal?
Only 2. Okay. So if I think about being from outside and think about Portugal, the thing that comes, or the word is easy. You know, we are Latins. It's everything. It's easy here. You with a policeman, you do something wrong and you have a conversation. So it's very easy and very safe, as Charles just said. So nothing here hurts. Now, I visited all around the world, and I don't know, Brazil is difficult sometimes if you just do an adventure of walking during the night in Copacabana. I was assaulted and robbed, me and my wife, last time I went to Brazil. So these things, everybody knows it happens. It doesn't happen here. So there's no bad animals. I walk my dogs in the middle of the forest, sometimes in the winter, right in the morning, and there is no lions, no spiders, no snakes. Maybe the most dangerous animal is a rabbit. So it doesn't happen. I can swim in the sea with no surprises. You know, anywhere you go, here it is. So this doesn't happen in Portugal. We don't have sharks, for instance. Yeah, so it's a very, very easy country. Nothing hurts. I remember we had a revolution. Everybody knew in '74. We didn't shot one. We didn't have a shot. Nobody died. So it was the revolution of flowers. So that's the typical Portuguese. So I think for any culture, this is a very easy country. So the word would be easy. The second point is affordable. So as we are talking with people around investment in real estate, it's good to have a look, because when we check numbers, usually we confuse numbers. If you check prices per square meter, it's going to be confused because it's all mixed numbers. So you will see you don't have numbers that relates to yourself. So here I'm focused on prime location, which is the liquid market where international buyers are. So nobody wants to buy a house in the middle of Portugal that for any reason they want to sell it, that have no market. So if we look at prime locations, Portugal is still, okay, everybody heard about a boom in real estate and we are still there. So Monaco, what's the reason? Tax. London, of course, tax, and a lot of people want and have good income on renting. Paris or Berlin. So Lisbon is still very cheap. This is like a joke, but it is. What can you buy with 1 million euros in Monaco? Maybe a storage room with 6 square meters. Yeah, so that's what we need to show and talk to people. London, with 1 million euros, you get maybe an ensuite bedroom. You don't have more than that, or maybe in an attic. So in Paris, you will get a studio in a prime location. In Lisbon, you can have your 2-bedroom apartment with 100 square meters. Okay, so in fact, there are still room. Imagine if the market goes up double, which is absurd, we will still be below Paris or below Berlin with all the motives we talked before. So it was tax reasons, golden visa, weather, gastronomy, friendship, because we speak in whatever. But in fact, directly in business, we still have a big room to grow. So if you remember the movie, you just have to read the signs, and Lisbon is a good moment to come. Back to you, Linda.
Ladies and gentlemen, and finally, let us turn to Ricardo for the final word. Ricardo, do you have a final little golden rule for our audience when they buy in Portugal?
Well, if I have any final word to say, as a lawyer, as a man of the law, I can tell you, if you do the process correctly, we are talking about investing in properties or starting a business in Portugal. If you do the process correctly, if you are well advised, well legally advised, well tax advised, the process is very safe and very public, in the sense that you can, over the internet with an access code, verify the land registry of your property, have access to the company registry of your company. So it is very safe to invest in Portugal, to buy in Portugal, and to create companies in Portugal. So I will stress again, As long as the process is done correctly, it is a very safe and transparent market. So welcome, and please feel free to join us here in Portugal.
Ladies and gentlemen, join me in thanking Charles, Nuno, and Ricardo for joining us today and to share that valuable information with us. It was really put in a clear and a simple format. I think you understand the basic guidelines. And now, for your personal questions, from tomorrow you will have their details and you can contact them directly. We apologize for the one or two technical problems we had, but I'm sure that we covered everything in the show and all the information relevant for you today. So, as they say, if you can dream it, you can do it. Until next time, we greet you. Ciao.
How many times have you left early, cancelled a meeting, or otherwise changed your plan? How many times have you said you were going, but stayed right where you were, sinking in the sand? How many times did you look at yourself from another perspective and grasp, when all was said and done, you were simply in the wrong place? Listen, we're the same size as what we see and not what we have. A man needs to see things with his own eyes, walk the world with his own feet, have his back burned by the sun and his feet blistered by the street. Which is harsher, the icy winds atop a mountain or the baking heat along the plain? There's only one way to know. Seeing this with our own eyes and not on our smartphones, flashing up images of landscapes already shared a million times, really seeing with our own gazes for just a few and sometimes far too few times. The good news is they are still here. These landscapes do persist in the three-dimensional world that we exist, and they do hold the capacity to transform us. So come, take a look, but look to see and not to show, and save it right here and here. Put the phone away and go. Once we experience distance, we understand just how much we miss our own and our homes. We can see the wood from the trees. Travel helps us flourish and grow. We need to go places we don't know to shatter that arrogance that makes us experts in what we have not seen, when we should remain humble and keen as students and just head off in discovery. In 20, 30, 40 years' time, we're going to regret what we did not do. So voyage out, let the wind blow through your sails, explore, dream and discover. Believe that that sky is going to seem that bit bluer. You must have read, when something good happens, travel to celebrate. When something bad happens, travel to forget. And when nothing happens, travel to make something happen. Keep this in your head. It's the truth. And this is the proof. And it's with us each and every day. We just have to read the signs. Because after all, we can't skip life.